So a couple quick housekeeping items that I wanted to mention to everybody. So your 90-day strategy documents will be sent out in the next 72 hours or so. Hold on. I'm not sharing correctly there. There we go. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Actually, it keeps like flickering for me, but you can just type in the chat or just like unmute yourself and just say, yeah, you can hear it. You can see it. Awesome. Okay. So quick housekeeping items. Your 90-day strategy documents will be sent out very soon. Ideally, I'm going to get to in the next 72 hours. Some of you, I may have to reach out to confirm some things before I can send it over. But basically, I'm going to map it out as if you're doing about an article a week, just so that you have it there, whether that's your 90 days or not. That's totally fine. But that's how I'm going to map it out for you. And if you want to do more intensive, cool, just reply back and let me know, and I can help you get that up and running quickly. Some over-the-shoulder trainings are also being dripped into the membership portal as of today. So we have there's one in there about WordPress plugins, so the recommended ones that I use. How to do keyword research. It's an over-the-shoulder, like behind the scenes on my screen. Just how to do keyword research using Google AdWords, and how to fill out the 90-day strategy doc as well, kind of using my screen and all that. The last thing is the December 29th call is going to be canceled. The reason being, we're actually going to cover all that info in this call. So I also posted in the group, if you want to comment on there, if you want to have a Q&A call. If you don't want to have a Q&A call because you understand the content at the end of the call, that's fine too. Just comment there if you want to have that call. It's basically just 45 minutes for you to pick my brain on anything. But that's pretty much all I wanted to go through in terms of housekeeping items. So week 3, today we're going to go through the 90-day strategy. Specifically, we're going to go through one of my 90-day strategies. Let me just make sure I have it up here. And then from there, we're also going to go into how to create content. So we're going to go through a few different ways to create content. We're going to go through a couple of different really easy ones that I recommend that you use. And they should save a lot of time for you. They'll also allow you to get up and running very, very quickly in a matter of like 20, 30 minutes, have a piece of content that you can start to get ready to promote for January when we go through the content promotion side of things. But basically what we're going to be covering today is why you need the 90-day strategy, why I'm even creating it for you, the structure of how that looks. We're going to talk a little bit about keyword research, and I'm actually going to show you how I do keyword research very quickly using one of the tools that I really love, just so you have a good sense of what's going on behind the scenes in terms of mindset around that. But I'll also have a handful of other videos using different tools popped into the back end in the membership portal about how to do keyword research with different tools if you want to get into any of those ones that make your life a little bit easier. And then we're going to talk about priority setting. So with that 90-day strategy, how do you prioritize what to do versus what not to do, when to start writing this content versus that content, and all that. And then we're going to start going into the core content formula. So the key formula for content, which is going to be about 90% of your focus in terms of creating content with this course. It's going to be skyscraper method stuff, so really long form content. Then we're going to go through the content creation process that we use. Essentially just the steps that we take to create content so we ensure that it's always really awesome. Then we're going to go through how to create that content in a very similar way, but a lot faster, meaning, you can do that in about 20, 30 minutes or an hour in your afternoon, and you're good for the week. And then the final thing we're going to go through is that really quick, easy promotion-oriented content formula and how to craft that piece of content really, really rapidly. And I'm also going to show you a couple of examples of ones that are really phenomenal and were put together really, really rapidly. So diving right in, why have a 90-day plan? It's the same idea behind why you'd plan for your own business in the coming year, the next 90 days. You want to increase the effectiveness of what you're doing. So you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is affecting your long-term goals and affecting the end outcome that you want to achieve. It keeps you a lot more focused, a lot more targeted around what is going to move your business forwards versus what is just kind of useless and off the cuff. And you really get into this when you start executing. You'll really understand why we stick to a particular plan, because you'll eventually see competitors come out with different pieces of content and you immediately think, oh, I should write on the same topic. But in reality, what that competitor is writing about may have nothing to do with your end goal. It may not be able to impact your business in the way that you're trying to focus on. So the big thing this allows you to do is stop wasting resources, whether it's time, whether it's money, whatever you have to throw at your business in order to make it move and at this process in order to make it work. It's going to stop you from wasting your time and money and all your other resources on stuff that's not going to move your business to the next level. And that's the whole goal of this entire program, is moving your business to that next level. So what I want to jump into is the structure of this 90-day strategy and kind of what it looks like. And I have a scaffold version of it, which you should see in a second on your screen. This is the one that you'll see when you go into the membership portal. You'll have a link to it. This is basically what it shows. And essentially, it's just a handful of columns and data that's there. Basically, what we have on the far left-hand side here is your content topic, so the specific topic that you're going to be writing about. And you'll notice these number signs here. That's basically a list-based article. So it might be 12 effective mobile app design tips to design a killer app, or it could be 14 effective mobile app design tips. Basically, it's just a placeholder saying this is going to be a list article. Here's the topic of it. And to the right of that, you'll see keywords. So this is based on the keyword research. This is the particular keyword that we're focusing on with this article. And essentially what we're aiming to rank on with this article, because this is rank-based content. Beside that, we just have some extra data, which is mainly used for the planning and priority setting purpose. So search volume is just the number of unique searches on Google for this particular keyword. So if you were looking at priority, chances are you want to look at keywords that have a higher search volume, meaning more people are searching it every single month, meaning there's a good amount of folks that if you rank on that keyword can come back to your website, potentially buy something, potentially become a lead, come into your site and do, whatever it is that you design your website to do in terms of a funnel. Beside that is competition. This I get into in the behind the scenes video. I'm not going to touch on it too much other than saying that competition below about 0.5 and below, meaning 0.0 to 0.5 is where you want to be. And there's a bit of a definition around that in the behind the scenes video. Really what that means is 0.5, I think it's 0.35 to 0.5 is medium level competition, and below that is low level competition. That's what we're really focusing on for the time being. As you scale with this process, you can start focusing on really high competition stuff. Like in this space, you might be able to focus on the flat out keyword mobile app or mobile app development or something like that, a keyword that has tons and tons of competitors in there. But for right now, we're focusing on stuff that's relatively low competition, meaning you can attack that and you can get that spot relatively quickly. Beside that is the cost per click. So what someone on Google AdWords is paying for one click with this keyword. And we use that to set priority, meaning essentially what we look at is the search volume here multiplied by the cost per click. Look at the value of that traffic to you. So if you had to pay for this on Google AdWords because you wanted to get folks in and you wanted to sell them a mobile design service, is this traffic worth more to you than this traffic over here with like mobile development tools? And usually I use that traffic value to sort out and identify what keywords we focus on first. But I go into that a bit deeper in the video that you'll get with your 90-day strategy, as well as one of the videos in the membership portal. So I'm not going to go too deep there. And the last thing that's in here is article length. So with every single topic that you're going to write, there's a certain threshold of the amount of content you really have to create for it to be what we call a skyscraper article. And I'll go into a bit deeper what a skyscraper article is later, but essentially what it is, it's just an article that really delivers a ton more value than any other article on that keyword that ranks on that keyword. So these article lengths are derived from looking at the existing content that already ranks on the first page, looking at the average length of that content, and coming up with a threshold. And for the most part, any skyscraper article, period, is going to be over 2,500 words. That's pretty much the baseline. Anything beyond that, it can go as high as 15,000 words in some cases if you're in a really, really competitive space. But in reality, if you get 3,000 to 4,000 keywords, or 3,000 to 4,000 words, a long form article that's about 10 to 15 pages, you're in a good shape. But essentially, that data is going to be in there as well. So exactly what minimum threshold you need to hit for that particular topic is also going to be in your 90-day strategy. And what I wanted to go through quickly here is how we actually come up with the keywords that you focus on. So the example that I want to show you here is Nutrition Secrets. Nutrition Secrets is a website owned by the guys over at Neil Patel. And basically it's a website that's all about delivering information around nutrition, around fitness, around weight loss, around meal planning and recipes. And it's really all about healthy eating and losing weight. And when you look at their site, there's a whole bunch of different stuff that they write a ridiculous amount of content, but there's a whole bunch of different stuff going on their site. And as you can see with, just the sheer sections of content, there's a lot of different things here. But, putting yourself in the shoes of someone at Nutrition Secrets, essentially they're trying to rank on keywords that directly relate to the offer that they have. And it actually changed since I loaded this up yesterday. But what they used to have was a meal plan. And for $67, you could buy a custom meal plan. And that's really what this online fitness coaching is as well. When you actually scroll through it, it's a custom meal plan and exercise plan. So if that is the main thing you want to sell, you really want to rank on keywords related to that offer. So stuff related to meal planning or meal plans, stuff related to exercise plans or how to exercise, exercise regimes, things like that. So what you do with just those ideas in mind is go to a tool like Keyword Finder here, and they have a nice little tool called autocomplete. And what this does is on Google, when you're typing in meal plan or you're typing in whatever word, you'll notice that it has a drop down and it just shows you tries to predict what you're going to be typing there. This basically returns the search results of what that would be. So if you typed in meal plan, it's going to scrape all the results for what Google's predicting that you're typing, and it's going to return that to you. So if we click analyze, and in this space we want to look at keywords that relate to meal planning, because that's for Nutrition Secrets, that's what they want to sell. So I'll just give it a couple seconds here, and it's going to spit out a whole bunch of search results related to the keyword meal plan. And this is basically going to give us the starting point of how we decide what keywords to go after. So when you're looking through this, there's a lot of different data here, but you'll notice that some of these columns match up to what we were looking at in the 90-day strategy. We have the keyword, and this is called a suggestion here. We have the search volume here, which is the number of searches per month, the cost per click, which is what someone's paying on AdWords. And this is PPC difficulty, but what we're really interested in is this difficulty number. This is the SEO difficulty. And this is in a very similar format. It's, as a percentage, so 54%, 23%, 62%. But essentially, you kind of get the idea here that when you look at this, you're really just looking at related information, and that's what you're going to create content about. So if you want to sell a meal plan templates, that's pretty damn related. If someone's looking for a template, they want to craft a meal plan, and maybe they'd be interested in a customized meal plan that's done for them. 2,900 search volume, that's a pretty decent search volume keyword. And I can click this button here so it can tell me what the difficulty is. 0.4 difficulty, that's right in line with what we're after. It's a medium competition keyword that has a good amount of search volume, has people advertising on it, and it's related to what we're trying to sell. So this is a perfect keyword to add into our 90-day strategy. And that's exactly the process that I've gone through for each of the 90-day strategies that I'm creating. Is I look at what's most relevant to what you're offering, what's most relevant to bringing in the right type of people to buy what you're offering, and what's most relevant to bring in buyer traffic. So traffic that is going to convert, they're going to get more information, and they may or may not buy, but they'll get to that point. So I wanted to give you a good understanding of what's going behind these strategies, so you understand also the process and kind of going about it. I know that's quite a bit of information, so I kind of wanted to dive into questions, if there's any, before I go any further into anything else. You can unmute yourself or just pop it in the chat if you have any questions.
Jamil, can you hear me?
Yep.
One question. I'm sorry if you went through this already, but you talk about these skyscraper articles.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any way for us to know if in our industry, if there are companies who's applying this principle already?
I'd say 99% chance, yes.
Okay.
There's a very large uptick in people leveraging content marketing, especially in the past 16 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically been about a double in terms of like industry average. So chances are there is someone, yes. But basically, as long as you stick to the formula and you stick to the whole promotion side of things, you will be able to move way beyond what exists, or at least you'll be able to compete with them. And that's really what it comes down to with most of the stuff that's in here. A lot of this is applied in like with our own clients who are in those highly competitive markets. And our main goal with it isn't necessarily to get them on rank number 1, page 1. It's to get them in the top 3. So as long as there's only 3 to 5 folks that are doing it really intensively, we're going to be in a good shape to capture some of that market share and capture enough that we're generating revenue.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to go for the top 3 than top 1, pretty much.
Yeah. And it also doesn't necessarily make sense because you can actually capture more traffic in position 3 than you can in position 1, depending on just how compelling your copy is. So it really comes down to just, there are inevitably going to be people that are going to be competing with you. It's, can you compete in the top 5? And if you think that you can, if the top 5 is not made up of Wikipedia and things like that, then you are in a good shape to compete, and you can compete.
Okay. And one question, I don't want to distract you from what you're going to be saying anyways, but as a marketing company, we focus on different verticals. We brought it down to 2 or 3 of them. Now we chose one that we want to dominate. Mm-hmm. So our website is not specifically for that vertical. So if my team were to create a 3,000 word article for that industry, so will that still help us at the same level as someone who has a dedicated site for that vertical alone directly, or is it more of a copy question, whoever has a better copy? It's
half and half. So it a little bit depends on the keyword that you're going after. The main example is actually directly with one of our clients. They are trying to rank on the keyword how to build a mobile app or mobile app builder. Mm-hmm. That's what they offer. The problem with trying to rank content on that keyword is content pretty much cannot rank on that, because every single result in the top 30 is a main homepage, which always has the most domain authority, has the most SEO juice to make sure it ranks up higher than just content pages. So if you're looking at a main keyword like that, like, SEO company for dentists, mm-hmm. may have trouble there. But if you're looking at something like restaurant marketing strategies, you can pretty easily rank on that, even if your website has nothing to do with it. And the good example there is that same client, they rank on restaurant marketing strategies. I think it's a position 5 or 6 or something like that. And they're a mobile app development company. It has nothing to do with restaurants.
Gotcha. Okay, that answers my question. And how do you recommend just one killer copy, 3,500 word article, or do you recommend we create articles periodically, once a week or twice a week, of that size to be ranking?
1 per keyword.
1 per keyword is enough. Okay.
For each keyword that you're after, you only need one, unless you're really keen on dominating all three positions in the top three, which you can do if you really want to, and the competition isn't that significant. You can create 3 articles for one keyword and rank them all in position 1, 2, 3.
Okay. And you might not be able to answer this question. Obviously, it could be too general, but how long does it take? So once we publish the article, do we need to do anything else to, I don't know, to maintain it? Or once we publish it, it just does its own thing and to rank automatically over time?
No, there is a promotion process.
Okay, got it.
This week, we're going to go through creation. Next week, or not next week, but in January, beginning of January, January 3rd, we're going to go through content promotion.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Great question. Great answers.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions? Angela, yeah, it's being recorded. Awesome. Okay, so we'll dive into part 2, which is content creation. So the core content formula, as I mentioned, is essentially skyscraper content. Skyscraper content is the type of content that you'd create in order to rank. So it's rank-based content. The entire focus of a skyscraper article is to deliver a ton of value, more in-depth content than your competition, and essentially just create overall better content than what exists for that keyword or in that market. So, for example, one massively successful article in the link building, the SEO link building side of things is Brian Dean's Ultimate Guide to Link Building, and it really is an ultimate guide. It's made up of pretty much every key resource you need to learn how to link build properly. But you could just as easily come in, well, not easily, but you could come in there with a skyscraper article and just deliver a ton more value by, instead of curating content, deliver the value directly and have a step-by-step guide to every single step of link building. That would be an example of stepping it up one level and delivering much better content in much more depth. Essentially, every single skyscraper piece you will ever create is over 2,500 words. Some of the articles that we create for some of our clients are upwards of 12,000 words. Some of them are about 2,000 to 3,000 words. It really just depends on what the market dictates, what others in that market are doing, and what your competition's doing. So one great example, we created an article called How Much Does It Cost to Build a Mobile App? That started off as a 2,000-word article, and it was ranking on the first page for a long time. And all of a sudden, a competitor came into the space. They created a calculator to calculate how much it costs to build a mobile app. And then they also created an article below it. And they really promoted the hell out of that thing, and it began to gain some ranking. And more competitors followed suit. And eventually we were down to page 2. So what we had to do was then update that content and make it even more in depth and go deeper into the details of exactly how you price out and understand the price points of building a mobile app. And we made that go from a 2,000-word article to a 6,000-word article, and it ranks again on the first page. It's really just all about delivering better value, and naturally people will read it more. They'll click through to it. They'll click through from Google to read it more. And the inevitable result of that is you will rank higher. Most skyscraper content, because it is long form, you're talking about 10, 20, 30 pages in some cases, you do have to trigger a conversation in order to keep people engaged for long enough to read the entire article. So an easy way to do that is to use you and I in your text. So really take it from the storytelling approach and help them understand all of the content through, anecdotes, through stories, through basically triggering that conversation and, asking questions that are rhetorical that they just think about in their head. Using all of these different storytelling techniques is how you leverage a skyscraper content piece from being, mediocre and it's a good amount of content and it's great and all, from that to being like a phenomenal piece that ranks on the first page because people love it so much that they go there first. One quick little hack with this content to make it inherently promotable and have the ability to rank without having to do too much in terms of effort is to mention influencers and link to relevant content in that article. So and our, most skyscraper content, 2,000 to 3,000 words. And essentially what you do in that 2,000 to 3,000 words is mention between 30 and 60 influencers or relevant pieces of content as you're writing. And what you get to do after that is inherently go and promote it, because you mentioned a whole bunch of really awesome folks. You got to tell them about it now. We're going to go into that a little bit deeper in the promotion side of things in January, but this piece here, you may not entirely understand, but know that it's inherent in building the promotion aspect of this that allows you to go out there and promote with a lot less time than you normally would, because you've gone through the steps of mentioning these folks in your article. On average, per article, it'll save you a matter of like 3 or 4 hours in promotion time. So it's pretty significant overall. So a quick example of skyscraper content that I absolutely love. If you search growth hacking, if you pretty much search any variation of growth hack or growth hacking in Google, this definitive guide to growth hacking from QuickSprout, written by Neil Patel, will show up. It's a massive, massive article. This is the example of really ridiculously large skyscraper content. It's 15,000 words. It's huge. It's overly excessive, meaning like you don't have to do this. There's nothing anywhere near this in terms of length, but it's a really good example of how far you can take things. So let me actually show you an example of a very basic skyscraper article, and then I'll show you exactly this article, and you'll get a really good sense of why I'm saying it's at a very different level, and you don't have to take it to that level. Here we go. Share its screen. So this is the article that's on one of our client sites, 14 programming languages for mobile app development. This is a skyscraper article. It is, I think, 6,000 words overall, and it basically rounds up and walks through every single mobile app development language out there that's popular, why it works, why it doesn't, how to get started with it. And it kind of just ends off there, just, hey, if you don't want to do that, then, that it does its pitch. This is an example of it. It's pretty basic, it looks like an article, pretty standard stuff. Then there's this article, and you can immediately tell it's very, very different. It's highly, highly designed. They spent thousands of dollars having this thing designed and then coded. But it's very, very, organized is the best way to put it, where, there's multiple chapters. It's split up into multiple pages. You click on chapter 9, you go over to a whole different page where they dive into that particular topic. And it has, the natural navigation back and forth and back and forth. It's a phenomenal article, which is really hard to top, but you don't have to take it that far. So this article has definitely generated a ton of traffic for Neil and his team, but this 14 programming languages article, even though it doesn't have too many shares, it was recently published. This article has already generated revenue. The total cost to write this article is about $800 to $1,000, and this article has already generated upwards of $3,000 for a client. So it really doesn't take a lot in terms of making it look pretty and all that to take it to that level. And as long as the article ranks, as long as you can leverage it and it has good quality content, you can do some pretty awesome things with the content that you're creating. So any questions on that skyscraper content or on the formula? Because I know even that's quite a bit, even though it was only one element. No questions? Awesome. So the next side of things is I'm gonna go through our creation process and how you can speed this up a hell of a lot more. But basically, the way that we create content for our clients, it's a bit of a pain, but this allows us to make sure that we're creating really engaging content. And in the end, it does make a very big difference, especially with step 5, because we get to reach out to folks in the space, and it's part of the promotion process, which I will share with you guys in January, how to make this content creation process part of your promotion. But essentially, we start off with just scaffolding the content. So we want to understand and we want to outline what it is that we're going to be talking about. So our topic, the specific headlines of what we want to talk about. So, the example from the 90-day strategy there was 19 tips for mobile app design. So your bullet point headlines might be, one of the really awesome things that you can do with mobile design is, or a tip to help you with your mobile design is, use a platform like Skitch, or I think it was called Sketch or something, which has really awesome templates. Number 2 might be use flat design because that's what's trending. Number 3 might be check out all these different inspiration sites to make sure that you're on point with what's new and what's going on in the industry. And, you're basically going to lay those out as your headlines. Your sub-headlines are going to be the key steps to either take action in there or what they can take away from that. Whatever makes sense to split up that content. So if it's make sure to use something like Sketch because the templates are awesome, your step-by-step might be, okay, well, first off, you want to get the software. So let's give them a quick overview of what the software is and a link out to it. So the next sub-headline is going to be, okay, well, let's walk them through slightly what those templates look like. So we're going to have the, step 1, step 2, step 3, here's the templates and here's what they are. And the third one might just be linking out to further resources for reading. So the next sub-headlines there is going to be resources. And then within those, you're going to have key talking items. So if you want to list out steps of how someone can do something, your key talking points are going to be that step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and what you have to do within each of those. By creating a scaffold, we've essentially already written a good amount of the article there, but it allows us to keep on point. So we're not just thinking off the top of our heads. We're not just getting stuck when our train of thought goes away. We're making sure that everything's very, very succinct. And step 2 is once we've outlined all of this, we start getting granular. So we go talking point by talking point. We add more detail. We add links. We start hashing out sentences. It's not going to pull it all into a succinct paragraph or anything like that. But what we're doing is adding all of the stuff that we have to go and research. And then by the time we have all that put together, we're good to actually write the draft. So that way we don't have to go anywhere else before we start writing. We've pulled everything into this one document and we can just start writing. So step 3, we just pull together a draft based on all that information. And step 4, we leave it for at least 24 hours. We like usually if I'm the one that's writing it or one of our writers is writing it, they'll create the draft and they'll walk away for at least 24 hours and then come back to it. And the reason being, they may have thought something that was like really awesome and pulled it all together. And then they read the draft and they're like, what the hell was I doing? This sounds ridiculous. It happens more often than not, which is pretty surprising. But we come back the next day. The next day is when you do your heavy edits. That's all the foundational level stuff. Get it to a point where it is a good working reading draft. And then we start sending it around for feedback. So we look at the folks that we've mentioned in that article and we try and reach out to them for feedback. But we also have a particular group of folks that we go to who are editors and some that are just really awesome influencers in the space that are up for reading our content. And we send it around to them for feedback. And when we get some of that feedback from them, usually it takes 2 to 3 days. We do our final round of editing and then we launch it. And this is like, when you create content that's going to go out into communities and the goal is for this content to get shared. The goal is for it to get featured in newsletters and art and magazines and all this other stuff and linked out to from everywhere. It's worth putting this level of effort into your content. But when you're creating content that ranks, it's not always worth going this far. Taking it to about step 4 and then moving it into a launch is totally fine there. And there's some really easy ways to ramp up this process and make it go a lot faster. So one of the ones that I absolutely love, and this is the one that I use for pretty much all of our content that goes on Easy Automated Sales or content that I write that goes elsewhere. I just speak it. Honestly, people speak way faster than they can type. And I'm not talking, text to speech or anything like that. I mean, like you speak it, you record it, and then you transcribe it. So when you think about the pure, speaking speed that you have anywhere from 120 to 150 words per minute, I know I'm on the higher end there. you speak for about 20, 30 minutes, you have like 6,000 words worth of content there. It adds up really, really quickly. And when you transcribe it, there's a lot of easy ways to do this. The recommendation that I have is rev.com because it's just so dirt cheap and so well productized. It's $1 a minute, and there is a volume discount if you have a ridiculous amount of stuff to transcribe, like hundreds of hours. They'll give you a discount on that, which is already a ridiculously low price. But basically, they'll transcribe it, they'll put it in a Word doc, they'll send it over to you within 24 hours, which is even better. So it doesn't ruin your process. And then it's just a matter of editing it. And obviously, you're gonna have punctuation that's wrong. You're gonna have said stuff that they transcribed wrong. Inevitably, you're gonna have a whole bunch of small little things. And it really only does take 15 or 20 minutes to edit about 20 minutes worth of transcription. But one of the easy ways that we use is we just go to Reddit. There's a subreddit, which is a community called For Hire. And often it is a lot of folks that are in a pretty interesting situation, and they can give you some really awesome rates. We tend to pay about 2 to 4 cents per word for our editing. And we found one really awesome guy out of Poland who is really, really good. And we locked him down for it. But basically, we send it over to them. They do their editing, and he's a fan of Neil Patel, so he knows exactly what type of content we write. And then it's basically done. He sends it back within about 48 to 72 hours, and we have our article ready to go. Super simple, super easy. For us, because we don't do the editing ourselves, on average, an article takes about 45 minutes. Between speaking it, exporting it, uploading it to rev.com, getting that there, getting the Word doc and sending it over to him, all of that is about 45 minutes all in one. It's pretty easy. But there's also a second, somewhat easier method. I added an extra slide there. But there's a second, somewhat easier method, which it uses influencers to get your content. So some of you may have heard of this site, Haro, Help a Reporter Out, or maybe Journal Requests, or some of these sites where you can go and contribute to journalist requests, where they're just saying, hey, we want to write an article about the 15 newest gifts that someone should buy for December for the holiday season, and you can submit your request and say like, hey, well, you should feature our product. Like here's why, here's what it does. If you've never heard of it, go to helpareporterout.com immediately after this call, sign up. It is phenomenal. The amount of links that we've got back and the amount of mentions in influential newspapers and things is phenomenal. But you can also be on the other side of it as someone who owns a blog which has an audience. You can request that influencers in your market submit their opinions to you in a nice little formatted fashion, and you can basically just worry about compiling the responses. All you end up having to do is write an intro and a conclusion, so maybe 200 words max, and the rest of the article is done entirely for you. And the really awesome part about this is all the promotion groundwork is already laid out for you. Because if you get a bunch of influencers to write your content for you, and basically you're just compiling them, you now have 15, 20, maybe even 50 people that you can go back out to and say, hey, the article's published. Can you give it a share? I mean, inherently they'd love to, because they've just been featured on some publication, being able to express their opinion. It's a really awesome way to just get out there and get something done. And here's an example of what it looks like. So this is our request a couple weeks ago when we were trying to compile a content marketing tips article. And we got 18 folks that responded that actually did the right formatting. Everybody else that didn't do the right formatting, we just kind of threw away their email response, which is pretty bad, but I just didn't want to spend the time. But we got 18 folks. It's about a 2,000 word article. It took me like 15 minutes to compile. And it only took 2 minutes to submit this to Haro to make that request. Is unbelievably easy. And the content that comes out of this is really awesome, but it's also just really cool having an audience to promote to inherently within your content that you don't have to do the research for. It is really, really cool. So that's quite a bit to digest in terms of creation and content and everything. So any questions about creating content, these strategies, anything like that?
Jamil, this is Angela.
Yep.
question about things like Haro. I've heard of it. I know people that have used it, but I'm just really uncertain how you reach out and actually start making that happen. I mean, I know that you had your email there that you sent to them, but I mean, what's like the initial step to get into that system?
Yeah, let me pull it up here, and I can share my browser. I can actually just walk you through it. Is this the right one? Yeah, that's the right one. Cool. So helpreporterout.com, depending on how you want to join. So you do have to join twice if you want to contribute to requests and if you want to submit requests. Or actually, sorry, you don't need to sign up once, but you need to change a setting to allow you to do both. But basically, you just go on here, choose whichever one. So maybe, off the bat, if you don't have a good amount of traffic on your blog, because they do require a certain amount of traffic, you might just want to click I'm a source and start getting getting featured in some different articles and things. So you're just going to click on that, click subscribe now, and it's going to make you enter in a whole bunch of info. Basically, just they want to understand who you are and get you an account signed up. The website is awfully slow a lot of the time, so do be aware of that. It's not for the impatient. And it doesn't seem to be loading up. Oh, there we go. So you're just going to click on free. Honestly, I've talked to tons of people who use this site. I've never met someone who uses the advanced version or any of the paid versions. They literally have no use. It's actually phenomenally amazing just with the free version. So I've never met someone who's actually paid for it. But basically, first name, last name, email, your phone number, and they really just want to know who you are so that they can send that profile to the journalist when you apply. It's really simple, really easy. And what they send you once you've signed up for this is 3 times a day. They will send you an email. And give me a quick second here. Let me actually let me pull up my email, and I can show you one of their emails. It's really nicely formatted, so you can tag it and make sure it's pulled out of your regular stream. Awesome. There we go. So this is one of the emails. So they tag it with Haro at the top, and then it's whatever, it's morning, afternoon, evening. They send it 3 times a day. This stuff is always just some type of promotion, and then it goes right into the requests that are out there by journalists. So it's broken down into a couple different sections. I tend to just request every single industry because it's always kind of interesting to see. But you scroll down to whatever industry is relevant. So lifestyle and fitness over here. You can look at what's let's see, are standing desks really better for your health? And you can click that. It's going to pull you down to the particular request that person's made within this article, within this email, because this email is huge. It's massive because it's filled with all these different requests. So are standing desks really better for you? So this is the name of the publication. This is the category, and this is the email that you submit to. So you'll only be able to reply to these after you've created your Haro account. Basically what they do is they use a little system here. So if you email this and you haven't created an account, it'll immediately email you back and say, hey, we don't recognize this email. Click here to create an account. So until you've done that, they won't let you submit anything because they want to be able to keep track of how many queries you've submitted, what's been accepted, what hasn't been accepted, and all that data. But you click on that, and that's going to open up something here, and you can just copy the summary the summary title as your subject line, and then you just submit whatever they're requesting here. So and they'll always lay out exactly kind of how they want it here. So they basically have a couple questions that they want you to answer, and then include a little bit about yourself, basically a bio and a link. Oftentimes they'll also ask for a headshot and things like that. As long as you follow the formatting suggestions and the formatting requests that they have, you tend to at least get considered as long as your content's decent. The biggest issues I always see, because I do a lot of these where I request from sources, the biggest kind of pet peeves are really badly formatted emails. So if they just, they just have a whole bunch of crap in there and it's hard to read what's what. Emails where not everything's delivered as requested. So if I request a headshot and you don't send it, like immediately I just basically throw out your email. And the last one is making your response too short. So when someone emails me and says, hey, here's like a 1-line snippet of what you requested, and then email me if you want more information, like no one's ever going to do that back and forth, especially journalists or people who have blogs and they have short timelines that they want to get stuff out in. You need to deliver everything you can all up front, and you have a much better chance of getting featured as a result of that. Does that answer all your questions there, hopefully?
For the most part. So ultimately, you're providing them with content, but they actually write the article.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's if you're a source. And if once you get enough traffic to your site, they ask for an Alexa rating of 1 million, which is basically just this worldwide thing that tracks how much traffic you have and gives you a ranking per country. As long as you have about 1,000 monthly unique visitors, you'll be beyond that. Once you have that, you can change your subscription and say, I'm also a journalist as well as a source. And then you can start submitting these requests. And that way you get emails from these. It'll say, Haro request answer for, whatever you called your summary, and it'll have the information that they send over to you. And that way you can compile that content or what they send you as content into your own article.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Jamil, can you hear me?
Yep.
With regard to the first process, and the timeline that you gave, it sounds like it's about an hour, give or take, of actual work, not including the wait time for edits back and that kind of stuff, and the 24 hours you're putting it on the shelf before you go back and revisit it. Did you have a general ballpark? And obviously the length of the article is going to affect that cost. But is there like a bounded range where, a 2,000 word article you've seen cost like X number of dollars, and a 6,000 word costs like this, just as a range?
Yeah, definitely. So what I tend to see when you go after content writers, the lower end of the market is about 1 to 5 cents a word, and the quality of content's not great. But most writers charge by word. And the mid-level market, the guys that we tend to deal with, they charge anywhere from about 10 cents a word up to about 25 cents a word. So in that case, a 2,000 word article is going to cost you between $200 and about $500 on the high end. It really depends on the writer themselves. I know some folks in the UK, they still charge in that 10 to 25 cent range, but it's then in British pounds, which really jumps it up. But for the most part, with the folks that I've worked with, it's between 10 and 25 cents. You can usually find someone that's a really good fit at about 10 to 15 cents, as long as you go through a couple different places to try and hire your writers. And we will go through that in one of the weeks. We're going to go through outsourcing, but if there's enough folks that really want it, I'll do a quick behind the scenes video of where I go to hire writers. Because there's basically one source that I absolutely love that is probably the best place. It's really cheap to post your job, and you get really, really awesome quality writers back.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Jamil, yes, that would be great if you can do that recording whenever you get to it. I would love to know how you do go through the hiring process.
Yeah, definitely. Let me make a very quick note, and I'll just do it after the call.
Okay, perfect. I wanted an additional question going back to, I know you're going to go through the promotion of this, but let's say when I know the keyword that I want to rank for and I want to create the skyscraper article for, and let's say the Google search, monthly search is 4,000. searches. I just found a company who has a skyscraper article in that industry, and I just took their URL and checked it out against SpyFu to find out how much traffic they get. It only shows like 10, 15 clicks on the organic SEO. I know SpyFu is not super accurate, but how do you explain that?
Yeah, it's very, very much not accurate. But that being said, if there is a lot of advertising on there, there is a chance that some of the ads are taking up more than the standard amount of actual volume of search clicks. There's also a very good chance that position 2 to 5 is taking up a lot of search volume as well. So a really good example, we had an article that ranked for app ideas and another one that ranked for app promotion. And what was happening was, even though we were in position 4, we were getting upwards of 30% of the search volume as traffic, which is way beyond what you should get when you're in that position.
Right.
Position 1 takes that amount of traffic, and everybody else below that gets, maybe 20% total, 30% total. So it really kind of just depends on what's relevant to the folks that are searching. So with app promotion, we just had the right article. We were the ones talking about how to do it for free, whereas every other article that was listed there was how to use paid means and things like that. So it worked in our favor. For app ideas, when we were still ranking in that top space, it just worked because we talked about how to create app ideas or how to come up with app ideas, as well as a whole bunch that they could steal. And I think for us, the real turning point there was mentioning the word steal. It really boosted our click-through rate.
Okay. And when you're creating that size of an article, does it have to be a neutral article, if you will, or is it okay at the end to kind of do a self-promotion, self-plug?
Yeah. At the end of the article is when you can totally go for a sale. In most of the articles that we create, the end of it is either ended with a question, if it's something that we want to get links off of, we want to get more people sharing. Otherwise, we end it with, hey, if you're interested in this, then you should check out the platform, click here to do that. If throughout the article, you don't want to be doing that. But at the very end, it's totally fine, because in reality, if it's a company blog, it's kind of expected. But that's the whole thing. Just, value first, sell second. If you're doing the sale at the end, that's totally, that's selling second in reality.
As long as you don't sprinkle your offer throughout the article, right?
Yeah. That's the one thing you really don't want to do. Don't put your sales material in the middle of the article. It can turn people off. And if you start seeing a lot of people dropping off like midway through your article, that can potentially impact how Google ranks you, because they might look at it as a bad user experience.
Got you. And in the industry that we picked, the Google search is about 3,500 to 4,000 people per month. So is it a relatively small crowd to go after?
No, that's actually pretty decent. You should see some of the markets that we go after. Some of the keywords that we go after for our agency, as well as for some of our clients, we're talking about 300 to 400 searches a month. Like, it's very tiny, but the thing is, it's highly, highly relevant. So even if we're only getting 10 clicks, but 5 out of 10 are converting, that makes total sense, because it's much better than trying to drive 500 and only 10% are converting.
And is there a difference between targeting a local audience versus national?
There is a little bit, but what I tend to find is Google's really good at understanding where you're located. So if your entire site is all about, how you do SEO in Seattle or something like that, Google's going to pick up on that. And even though you're writing skyscraper content, some of it may rank nationally, but a lot of it's really going to move you forward locally, more so than anything.
Got you. But Google will not automatically make it local just because, for example, we're located in New York City.
No.
Okay.
No. You'll definitely show up higher in New York City if someone searches for those keywords versus, somewhere else. But that doesn't mean everywhere in New York City you're going to just be dominating.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Any other questions there? Awesome. So we're going to go into the really, really easy to create content. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what it looks like first and what the structure is, and then I'm actually going to show you 2 examples. So this content is really, really great because basically all you're doing is compiling the best of the best in terms of resources of content that already exists. And this is not just going to be from your own site. This is going to be content from anywhere that is the best in class or world-class content for answering whatever question it is that you're going after. So the 2 ones I'm going to show you, one is how to make $10,000 a month. And it goes through all these different articles about like laying the foundation, understanding how to craft your business, understanding how to position it, doing market research, all these other things. And only like one piece of content in the entire article actually links to something that's within their own website. And the second example I'm going to show you is mobile app marketing guide, where there's actually a link that links back to something on their site in every single section. But the entire piece of content goes through from start to finish, foundation level to advanced strategies and case studies, how to market your mobile app. And it goes through, I believe in that case, it's 9 sections. But typically these articles are between 4 and 11 sections that are broken down logically about the progression throughout that topic. So, another example might be LinkedIn marketing. You may want to go through the whole process of LinkedIn marketing. So your initial section is going to be, here's the foundations, here's why LinkedIn marketing makes sense. Section 2, how to know if your market is on LinkedIn. Section 3 is going to be, okay, well, here's how to start targeting your market on LinkedIn ads. Step 4, or the chapter 4 may be about advanced targeting. Chapter 5 may be about case studies and hacks that you can use. And you're going through that process. So that way, anybody, depending on wherever they're at in that process, can go to your article, find the section that's relevant to them, and you look at that content that's there. Each of these sections has between 3 to 7 links, where you're literally just listing out world-class content that's curated for answering that question, or answering that particular area of knowledge that they need. So, with the mobile app marketing guide, one of the first areas there is, why you need to market your mobile app. And we've created some content basically showing the expansion of the mobile market and why it makes sense for you to go out there and promote your mobile app to get a larger user share. Really, the entire structure of it is you're going to start off with an introduction about whatever that topic is. So if it's LinkedIn marketing, you're going to talk about how LinkedIn marketing is a growing industry, or a growing market, a growing marketing channel, and how it's really awesome because it allows you to target really in depth. Then you're going to talk about the pain, which a lot of people is just, LinkedIn marketing can be complex, and the market's changed so much, and the platform itself has changed to include new ways to market on LinkedIn, things like that. And then the solution is, well, over time it's changed, but there's a whole bunch of resources that we've curated for you in order to show you step by step how to get up and running with LinkedIn ads. And essentially what you go through in each chapter, at the beginning of each chapter, is you just describe the objective of whatever it is that you're talking about. So if it's the fundamentals of LinkedIn, you're just going to say, hey, in this section, we're going to talk about how to do this, 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 and this. And, this is the main outcome of what you're going to learn if you go through and read these articles. And then you list out the links. It's unbelievably simple. It might have been a bit complex as I was explaining it there in terms of understanding, but when you actually see it, it's pretty simple overall. So let me switch up my screen here. So this first one, the definitive guide to mobile marketing. Basically, it's all about mobile marketing, as I mentioned. You have your introduction here. What's going on in the market, why you want to use mobile marketing, how it can increase your profit margin. Then it goes into, okay, so here's the chapters. Here's the sections that you may want to go to, and you just link out to all of them for ease of use and ease of skimming. But, if we click over to fundamentals of mobile marketing, headline, quick description of what you're going to learn by going through these different articles, and then the articles. And you just do that over and over and over and over and over again. And all you're doing in here is linking out to the relevant information. So over here, it's the landing pages. Here is promoting your app for free. So the next logical step once you have a landing page is to promote it. The next is boosting sales. So once you have people in, how do you boost sales? Then advanced marketing strategies. So once you have your app up and running, how do you growth hack it to go even to do even better? And then finally, or second to last here is case studies about what works really well. And we grabbed some from Growth Hackers about how explosive growth is generated in some of these really big apps. And finally, we go through the toolkit. So just some tools that are really awesome for this. And the reason why this content works so well is over the course of this article, we've just linked out to 30 really, 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 really relevant influencers in the space. So people that we can go back to and say, hey, we mentioned this article and we really like featured you in it. Like we basically took the best world-class content that you have and featured it in this article. Can you give it a share? Or next time that you're creating content on your own blog, can you link back to it? Because it's a massive guide. We spend a lot of time curating this. It's not, you're not able to go out that blatantly. And when we get into promotion, I do have a template that you can use. But essentially, that's what you're going out to do with this type of article. This is a definitive look at content that is made to link. This is really what it looks like when you're trying to create this type of content, where it's inherently promotion oriented in the nature that it is just a bunch of links that link out to really awesome folks in the industry who have audiences. We link out to a handful of really big applications like Kissmetrics, Unbounce, Buffer, all companies that have hundreds of thousands of people behind them as an audience. The second example, which is a little bit better designed here, is created by a friend of mine over here, and it's basically how to create a $10,000 a month business in 100 days. And logically, they go through, the initial information is basically, hey, here's why we created this guide. Here's the process we're going through. And they logically go through step-by-step day 0 to day 100. So shaping your mindset, they have a handful of articles, some tools to take a look at, and a favorite book. And in this case, these are amazing for promotion because they just mentioned a world-class person that has an amazing audience, a tool that has an audience of leads as well as an audience of customers, and a handful of folks who have big lists. Chapter 2, same thing. 3 articles, some tools, an awesome book. So the same makeup of folks, and they just do that over and over and over. And this is a pretty good example of somewhat subtle selling. Is right in the middle of this. They have, hey, if you don't know too much about Facebook ads, click here to learn more. And this leads out to a Tripwire, so a $47 product. And again, just continues. And at the very end, they have their conclusion that links right back to this offer. And that leads over to an actual sales page. So any questions about kind of how this stuff is crafted, how it's formatted? Because I'm pretty sure this is probably the main piece of content that almost everybody here should start with, because it is just a lot simpler to get up and running. And the promotion side of things is significantly easier. But any questions around how it's crafted or how it's formatted or anything like that? No questions? Awesome. And feel free to drop them in the chat if you do have questions, and I kind of rushed you there. But basically, that's everything I wanted to cover this week. So some really quick action items is when you do get your 90-day strategy, review it. And if you have any questions, email me or ping me on Facebook, or get a hold of me in some way so that we can take some time and review it. One thing I didn't mention here, I am creating a Calendly link that is going to give you access to 10 minutes with me. And it pretty much lets you book within 6 to 12 hours. So I'm probably going to put it into the membership site in January. So when you start creating content, if you get stuck somewhere, within a matter of hours, you can have me on the phone so that we can dive through and break through whatever barrier you have there. But I'll post in the Facebook group when that's live. Step 2, plan your timeline. Once you've got your 90-day strategy, plan out when you want to create your first skyscraper article and when you want to create your first promotion-oriented article. And similarly, you know, as you're going through that process, keep me posted. If you have questions, ask. If you want me to just review it at the end of it, that's cool too. Send it over and I'll take a look. And the big thing that I want you to do once you've gone through all of that and you've planned it out is tell me your goal dates for launching that content, because I want to help you get there and I want to help you get there quickly. So if there's anything that I can do to help you accelerate that process, I want to do that. And, you know, in the end, just start creating content. As I mentioned, the 29th call is canceled. So the reason why I'm leaving that gap partially is because I'd expect it's going to take people some time to create content. And also I do want to have some folks that have content ready before we start diving into promotion, just because it's going to kind of go over your head until you have the content ready to go. So I'm leaving that little bit of that gap there so that at least some folks will have content, and then we can start going through that entire process. But any questions anyone has, I'm going to be around for the next 5-10 minutes. Let me just stop the recording.